of late I've taken it upon myself to buy, instead of a full game, to buy a ton of things off the PlayStation Network. Perhaps independent games, add-ons. So in this I bought, speaking of add-ons, the Resident Evil 5 Versus Mode add-on, which I still think's a rip-off and really kind of underhanded and there's something going on there, but you know, I did want the mode, so I had to pony up for it. As well as Linger in Shadows, which I've heard a lot about, and let's see, I had Flower, which is what I'm talking about. I can't recall the other one, I'm sorry. Wasn't important, not besides the point. The review of this video is for Flower. And this is Sony's newer independent game. I realize I'm late on this one, as usual, but what can you do? It should be covered, because those who are holding out on necessarily buying this game should buy it. I don't care what anybody says, this is a lot of fun. However, it will largely depend on what you expect from a game. And I'm not trying to pull out some artsy-fartsy bourgeoisie bullshit on you and say that you should pay more for art. No, I'm saying that largely this game is very short, so your enjoyment of the experience will definitely play into if you want to actually buy this game or not. See, because if I recall, there's not that many levels. Less than 10. And I think it's significantly less than that. I think it's like 6. Maybe including the credits. Maybe 7. Either way, extremely short. You could finish it in... For me, it took a little over an hour. So, for a $10 game, an hour, it's really not... I'm going to say it's almost not worth it. For me, it was, because I really enjoyed the experience, but for you, you could definitely vary. Having said that, I will get into the point of this review, though, and get a little more in-depth, so as maybe to help you make that decision. Be another unending voice to add to the noise of the media on this game, and all the other responses on YouTube as self-generated media. So, Flower. New independent game, the presentation. I want to start off with that, because frankly, it is what really sells the game. There is no menu. There's kind of a menu, but there is no words ever told you in this game except beyond the credits. Everything is done visually. You start out on kind of a windowsill in a darkened city on the background, industrialized, and there's a flower pot on the windowsill. And with the motion controls, which I'll discuss later, are used solely to control this game, you manipulate your way over to the said flower, hold X on it, any button actually, and it will take you to that level. You can also quit that level anytime just by pressing start and it'll go back. No load times. Now, once you complete one flower, another one will put beside it, and you do the same thing over and over until the game's complete. There's really no massive sense of progression outside of the fact that you will progress visually. Your windowsill will become more alive, the city in the background will become more suburbanized, if that's the proper word. I'm sure it's not, but it will have trees grow in the background, the sun will shine, and everything will look better, which is largely how you play the game too. When you're playing the game, your goal is to go through the missions. You're basically the wind. You press any button to go, and that's all you can do. And I mean that in a good way, but that's all you need to do. You need to hit different amounts of petals, and each petal you hit will join you in a trail, and you will slowly make yourself into a massive snake-like being, which is appropriate metaphor because this is basically a 3D version of Snake, where you don't die if you loop upon yourself. In fact, there's no way to die in this game, but every time you hit one of these flowers, you usually hit a large patch of them, then the immediate area surrounding it will liven up. So the gray, dull, black grass, dead grass, and the air will kind of light up into a green and maybe a red flowers and blue patches. And some levels are downright psychedelic. I think the second level it is really crazy looking and really, really cool to look at. And a lot's been said about the kind of physics engine of animating tens of thousands of blades of grass. I really didn't notice it as much up close, ironically enough, as I did from far away, where everything was swaying in the large sweep of the wind, and all of the different colors were mingling about each other. It's a really fantastic game visually, and that's mainly what is going to draw you in. The music itself is also very calming, and not in the annoying way that Pixel Junk Monsters is, where it makes you want to rip out your earlobes after a while. This is music, it's highly unobtrusive, and I can't imagine any other type of soundtrack going towards this game. because there's no time limit. Like I said before, there's no way to die. And the goal itself, yes, there is a goal, but it's no rush. You can do it however way you want. There's different paths lead to different things. Most of the time there's one big checkpoint you need to hit to progress in a level. But overall, it's largely how you want to do it. And how much you like to explore these levels is largely also how much enjoyment and worth you're going to get out of this game. I liked to go back into the levels and see what flowers did I miss, how much more could I enliven this environment, because it really is a visceral thrill, for lack of a better word, to see these environments pop to life because of your actions. And there's some kind of far off flowers that will enliven the hills in that second area, and it really turns into something quite fascinating. The camera angles as well with the wind are quite nice. Getting down into the grass is really cool. And outside of the end game levels, which is just the last 2 or so levels, where they are kind of depressing and really freaking odd, respectively, the rest of the game plays rather similarly in this fashion. Now, I also want to note that those last 2 levels are not bad. I think they work together in unison. They're better levels put together, though, because it really speaks like the power of nature, so to speak. Again, trying to sound too artsy-fartsy on you, but that's the way it goes. Now, I want to check with the controls here. There's no demo for this game, so you can't control them, and I had just as much trepidation as I'm sure many of you had with the PlayStation 3 motion controls, because frankly, when they're being used in games, they don't work too well. I imagine many of you, or at least some of you, may have played the game Lair, and outside of Lair being a shitty game to begin with, the motion controls are absolutely horrendous. And Flower, on the other hand, handles them beautifully. Now, I went back to my mother's house, and I handed this controller to my mother of 62, and she loved it. She loved it. And she was able to get with it in about 10 minutes, maybe 12, 15 minutes. And that is really saying something. It has much the pick-up and play value of many Wii games, and disregarding the Wii's other problems, I think that's definitely a major asset to it. And Flower has that. They work perfectly. It's very just slight twists, slight movements with the analogs, or the motion controls, and you can make large sweeping movements by tilting it upwards or tilting it downwards, but largely it's all in your control. It's entirely intuitive, and having any button just to go, I chose X, but you can pick any button. Largely, I just want to conclude this by saying, pick up Flower. Fantastic game. I was highly pleased with it. However, keep your expectations in mind. Unless you're a real trophy goer, this game will only occupy about an hour and 15 minutes. And while it is an immensely satisfying hour and 15 minutes, especially near the end, that's all you're getting with this. There might be add-on packs in the future, but those are going to cost you more down the line as well. So you're spending technically even more money for just a little longer experience. However, I perfectly recommend this game because it's definitely one of those games that I still think the enjoyment of the experience wins out in the end, much like the game Shadow of the Colossus, which is an absolutely bloody frigging fantastic game, but it's very short. It's still definitely worth full price. It's not like it's really going to come down in price. I guess Flow did, so it's possible, but if you want a different type of game, and one that's not necessarily filled with holes, then this is a very polished product that you will greatly appreciate, if nothing else, and is handled with great care. Even the credits are handled with great care. I actually think this is a fantastic way to house credits, too. It basically puts them in a playable level, along with their own neat visual trick that's not in any other level. So it really makes you want to go through them, almost. It astounds visually, it astounds orally. The gameplay is entirely intuitive and relaxing, and at the same time exciting. And while there's no co-op or multiplayer of any kind, there is a trophy system to keep you coming back if you so please. So, Flower, great. Check it out. I can't say enough good stuff about it, but be warned, it is short.